Welcome to Bigfoot Society. You're about to hear Encounterpalooza 2, a special members-only episode for supporters of Bigfoot Society. If you're on the public feed, you'll be hearing a 10-minute teaser about what to expect from this episode. If you'd like to hear the whole thing, you can become a member over at patreon.com/the Bigfoot Society, or you can become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button over on the YouTube channel. Just search for Bigfoot Society. And if you've got a Bigfoot encounter you'd like to share, please contact me directly using the email bigfootsociety@gmail.com. And now, let's get on with the show. Hi, Nurse Kathleen. This is Jeremiah. All right, so what have you experienced?
It was in let me see, 07. I was in the Uintah Mountains in Utah with my sister, and we were staying in a cabin. It was like a forest ranger cabin that is no longer in operation, but they use it to like rent it out for like camping and stuff. So we were staying there, and we kind of went to bed kind of early. We were actually, me and her were pitching a tent outside the cabin, and her husband and one of the kids was inside the cabin, but we're sisters, so we wanted to do sister bonding time. There were some cows. There was on the hill. There was a lot of cows. It's like cattle country, like grazing. Very off the beaten path, about 5 miles off the main road onto like a forest road. So very much set back, and there was like hills and mountains around us. And it wasn't until like that night, the first 2 nights we slept in the tent, we were just there for a couple days. First night, the cows kind of died, they were, kind of loud. It was kind of hard to sleep. And then around maybe 10, they kind of started to die down. You could hear coyotes. But then a little while later, it got really quiet, like dead silent quiet. And we heard something very, very large. I thought maybe a bear. But it was really, really loud. Like it was coming through the brush, and it was almost shaking the ground. And it sounded to me like, and we were both awake, that it was on 2 feet. And then in the morning, after that, we kind of like shined the flashlight and tried to look around, and, it went away. And then we finally, went to bed. And then in the morning, it was like probably about 7:30 in the morning, and she was still sleeping, but I was reading a book in the tent. So I was awake, and I heard 2 loud whoops, like whoop, whoop, and then a pause, and another whoop, whoop. And then I looked to her, and then she kind of woke up at the last part. And I'm like, I didn't really, I always kind of believed in Bigfoot, but I didn't know they made those sounds. So I was looking at her, and I'm like, what bird makes that sound? And she's like, I don't know. And it wasn't until I got back from our trip and did some research online and heard the Sierra Sounds recording from California that it sounded exactly like the whoops that were in that recording. So I could have potentially had a Bigfoot, very close. It sounded very close. But I, didn't look outside the tent in the morning. I didn't think the whoops were correlated with anything.
When you got outside the next morning, when it was light out, did you see any signs of things being messed with around the camp, or any tracks or anything like that?
No, because I really wasn't thinking it was a Bigfoot at all. So I thought it was a bird. So I wasn't like looking for We talked about the noises and stuff, and I'm like, that was really loud. And the night before, we're like, that was really loud, and it sounded like, you know, and I said that didn't sound like just like a deer or anything. I'm like, maybe it was a bear, but it was really crashing through, kind of like it sounded like crashing through the brush, like it sounded bipedal. But the whoops, I didn't correlate that together. So I wasn't looking around for like any sign of anything. There was nothing really messed up on like we had this fire pit in our camp chairs and all that wasn't really disturbed. But there was like a little walkway that went over like a bridge that goes over a stream. That's a good probably 50 feet on the other side of the stream that it might have been coming from there, from that area. It was very close.
Absolutely. Are you able to share what part of the Uintah Mountains it was in specifically?
Yeah, it was, I put it on the BFRO website as an encounter. It was north of Vernal, Utah. So coming up, I forget what my actual, the coordinates was. It's all on the report, but there's a major road that comes up from Vernal, Utah. And that's, the one we took. And then we took a forest road off of that to get to the cabin. It's like a forest ranger cabin that they rent out, but it was
Did it ever get, sorry, go ahead.
It was just a really windy road and, people camping on the, as you start to go and then it forks off to the left and that was the only, when you're going down to the left, that's like the only like ranger station. We did see a cowboy go by on a horse and like he was probably part of the ranch people. But other than that, we were the only people out on that cabin.
Do you know if, did you ever look to see if there'd been any other encounters reported in the same area?
Yes, there have been. And I think there's two others on the website, on the BFRO website anyway, about similar area. Coming up from Vernal in Uintahs, and there's another one that's a little bit more northwest of my location, but not that far, maybe 30 minutes, not like not an hour north or anything. It's like 30 minutes maybe when I looked at the map.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Have you ever gone out to that area again, or was that a one-time deal?
It's a one-time deal, but I think I probably want to go back there and, explore it in a different mindset and see if I can pick up anything or see anything, be more aware of, I really didn't even correlate those whoops and he was extremely close. And there
Absolutely.
also in the morning, there were I woke up and I was like, there was no noises. There was no birds chirping. There was no normal noises that you would hear normally when you are waking up outside in the summertime. It was during the summer. It was in July, and it was dead silent when I heard those whoops, which was the other odd thing.
Dale is saying that's the area that Russell Accord has done some research in. That's interesting.
Yes, I actually did hear
Expedition
that too.
Bigfoot's show.
Yeah, I like that show.
Well, Nurse, thank you for sharing. It's definitely an interesting anecdote about a weird experience in that area. So definitely an area to keep in mind. And thank you for coming up tonight.
All right, thank you.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
All right, that's the first person to share it and sharing some interesting things that happened in the Uintah Mountains of Utah. Hey, Brian, this is Jeremiah. Awesome. It sounds like you've had an interesting thing happen in West Virginia. Would you be able to share that?
Yeah. It was a brief encounter. I was 1987. I was just a kid then. Of course, I'm 49 now. We didn't have air conditions back then, and we slept with the windows open so we can get the night breeze. And I was asleep, and something woke me. The sound outside the window. My bed is right underneath the window. I had the curtains closed, but I could feel that cool breeze coming through the curtain, blowing down on me. But the sound that woke me was that sound of heavy breathing, like if you're like a dog sniffing in a doorway or something like that. You could hear the wind, and I pulled the curtain, and where I grew up at, we had an outside light shining onto our driveway, and my bedroom window faced the driveway. And I first seen a silhouette when I opened the curtain, and I was still half asleep, and I didn't realize what I'm looking at. Then it grunted, and then my eyes focused a little better, and I was staring face to face within, I don't know, 3 feet of it, face to face. I got scared. I rushed up, slammed the window shut, and pulled the curtain back too. I laid back down in my bed, pulled the covers back up over my head, and I was just laying there, scared to death.
Please take a minute to help out the show by subscribing on YouTube, making sure you hit the bell so you don't miss any notifications, and share the episode on YouTube with a friend. Also, if you're listening to us on a podcast, thank you so much. Make sure that you're subscribed, share the show with a friend. Really, it's all about sharing the show wherever you can. If you've had a Bigfoot encounter related to the following or know someone who has, please reach out to me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com or pass on my email. Here's the list. If you've had any encounters in Oregon, which I'm sure there's probably a few of you out there, please feel free to reach out immediately. You can use email bigfootsociety@gmail.com. A special thank you to all the Bigfoot Society Patreon and YouTube channel members. It's your support that helps keep the show going, and I extremely appreciate it. If you want to join in the fun, you can join over at patreon.com/the Bigfoot Society. I'll see you there. And again, thanks for listening.
Her and I can get on here and we can tell our stories. Maybe there's somebody else out there listening that's too afraid to tell their story. Maybe this will give them the courage to come out and not feel so bad about it. Who cares what anybody thinks? I know what I saw. I know what's out there. That's all I care about.
Please let people know. Please let them know. If you ever see one of these things, you need to tell. Because if you don't, then shame on you. You know? Shame on you.